This is the story of the pianist who forgot how to play. There was a young woman named Elena who had been playing piano since childhood. By her 20s, she was technically excellent. Her fingers could dance across the keys with precision, and she knew hundreds of pieces by heart. But Elena had developed a problem. Whenever she performed in front of others, something went wrong. Her hands would shake slightly. Her mind would race with thoughts about making mistakes. She would hear every small imperfection and worry about what the audience was thinking. Despite her technical skill, her performances felt mechanical and anxious rather than alive and inspired. She decided to seek help from an elderly piano teacher known for her wisdom about performance. When Elena arrived for her lesson, she expected to work on technique or receive advice about managing stage fright. Instead, the teacher led her to a beautiful grand piano in a sunny room. "Play something for me," the teacher said simply. Elena sat down and began a complex piece she had practiced thousands of times. Her fingers moved correctly through every passage, but the music felt tense and forced. When she finished, she looked up expectantly. The teacher was quiet for a long moment, then said, "Play it again. But this time, I want you to close your eyes and play as if you're completely alone. No one is listening. No one is judging. There is no audience to impress and no mistakes to avoid. Just you and the music." Elena closed her eyes and began the same piece. But something strange happened. Within a few measures, she became aware of how much mental chatter had been running in the background during her first performance. Thoughts like, "Don't mess up this difficult part. Is she impressed with my technique? That note didn't sound quite right. I hope I remember the ending correctly." With her eyes closed, pretending she was alone, many of these thoughts began to quiet. But the teacher interrupted after just a minute. "Stop," she said gently. "Even now, part of you is still performing for me. Part of you is still thinking about the music instead of being the music. Let me show you something." The teacher sat down at the piano. "I'm going to play the same piece, but watch my face." As the teacher began to play, Elena noticed something remarkable. The older woman's expression became completely peaceful, almost distant. Her eyes were soft, her breathing was natural, and she seemed to have forgotten that Elena was even in the room. The music that emerged was the same notes Elena had played, but it was completely different. It was alive, breathing, speaking directly to Elena's heart, in a way that made her eyes fill with tears. When the teacher finished, she turned to Elena. "Do you see the difference?" "Your playing was so beautiful," Elena whispered. "It felt like the music was playing itself through you." "Exactly," the teacher smiled. "When I play, there is no teacher, no room, no piano. There is only music happening. I am not performing the music. I am allowing the music to perform itself through me," she continued. "When you play, you are divided. Part of you is trying to control every note. Another part is worrying about mistakes. Another part is wondering what others think. You are like someone trying to have 3 conversations at once. None of them can be fully heard." Elena understood immediately. "So, mastery isn't about perfect technique. Technique serves music, but it cannot create it," the teacher replied. "Music comes from complete presence. When you stop being someone who plays the piano and simply become music itself, that's when true performance happens." Over the following weeks, Elena practiced what the teacher had shown her. Instead of practicing to perfect her technique, she practiced disappearing into the music. She learned to notice when her mind was divided and gently return her attention to the pure experience of sound and rhythm. Slowly, she discovered that her best playing happened when she forgot she was playing at all. When there was no Elena trying to impress anyone, no Elena worried about mistakes, just music flowing through willing hands. The Buddha taught that when we give ourselves completely to any activity, the separate self that creates anxiety and self-doubt dissolves, and we experience the joy of undivided presence. Think about times in your own life when you've experienced this kind of complete absorption, perhaps while dancing, writing, cooking, or even having a deep conversation. In those moments, your self-consciousness temporarily disappeared, and you became one with what you were doing. This is available in every activity, not just creative ones. When you wash dishes with complete presence, you become one with the washing. When you listen to a friend with total attention, you become one with the listening. When you walk in nature without mental distraction, you become one with the walking. Elena's story reveals something profound about human performance. We think mastery comes from perfecting our technique, but it actually comes from perfecting our presence. We think we need to control every detail, but true mastery comes from surrendering control to a deeper intelligence. This doesn't mean being careless or unprepared. Elena still needed to practice scales and learn the notes, but all that preparation was meant to serve a deeper purpose, creating the foundation for complete presence to emerge. The teacher's demonstration showed Elena what she had been seeking. Not more control, but less separation. Not more thinking about the music, but more being the music. This applies to everything we do. This applies to everything we do. In conversations, we can be divided. Part of us listening while another part prepares what to say next. Or we can be undivided, completely present to the other person's words and allowing our response to arise naturally. At work, we can be divided. Part of us focused on the task while another part worries about deadlines or seeks approval. Or we can be undivided, giving ourselves completely to the work itself. In relationships, we can be divided. Part of us loving while another part judges or protects. Or we can be undivided, allowing love to flow without the interference of the separate self. The Zen tradition calls this state no mind, not the absence of intelligence, but the absence of the divided self that creates internal conflict and anxiety. Athletes know this as being in the zone. Artists call it flow state. Musicians describe it as becoming one with the instrument, but it's available to all of us in every moment. Elena learned that her stage fright wasn't really about performing for others. It was about being divided within herself. When she learned to be undivided, the audience became irrelevant. Not because she ignored them, but because there was no separate self left to be anxious about their opinions. Tonight, as you engage in whatever activities remain in your day, notice when you're divided. Can you feel the different parts of your mind pulling in different directions? Can you experiment with bringing all of yourself to one thing at a time? The Buddha said, your work is to discover your world, and then, with all your heart, give yourself to it. This doesn't mean working harder. It means working with your whole being, undivided by fear, doubt, or self-consciousness. Elena discovered that the music she had been seeking was always there, waiting beneath the noise of her divided attention. The same is true for whatever you're seeking. Peace, joy, love, fulfillment. It's already present, waiting to be discovered in the space of undivided awareness. When there is no separate self to be anxious or controlling, there is only pure experience. And in that purity, everything becomes effortless and alive.